Good morning, Armor Down. Hope you slept well. I thought I slept fine, but my watch tells me I didn't. So we'll see how the day goes. But building off of where we have been talking this week around form and formlessness. So formlessness becomes form, form turns back into formlessness. It's just this. So there's something to be said about that in relation to this whole idea of the brain and the brain kind of actively engaging out, receiving, and recreating, out, receiving, recreating. So when you're thinking about this, you've got to be thinking about it in terms of super speed. Like this isn't like necessarily like this slow transformation, form and formlessness. It's constant. It's a constant. We're constantly interacting with our world at every single moment. So the formlessness becoming form is constant. And what we're doing is we're kind of becoming aware of the capacity to kind of interact with this experience of life itself. So we're basically practicing the ability to, one, recognize this process, and two, interact with it in a way that becomes more and more skillful over time. And so what you're doing is you're trying to basically just kind of see this first. It's like, okay, let me see this reality, this process. And the way to see it is what I want to focus on today. Is just, I want you to watch me, but at the same time, participate as best you can. But the process is a matter of kind of recognition and participation, and then doing that over and over and over again. And what happens is that which you recognize becomes more and more nuanced. And as you recognize it, as you interact with it, your capacity to interact becomes more and more nuanced. And what you're interacting with is that kind of exchange between formlessness to form, and then form back to formlessness. It's this interaction, and the process over time becomes it's like, so like think of the formlessness of anger. So formlessness of anger showing up inside the energetics of the body. The anger becomes the form of language. The form of language shoots out in anger and frustration, Maybe that then gets hit, it kind of flips back on you as the formlessness of guilt. And then, the process kind of marinates, and it just becomes kind of your pattern. And so you're triggered into this environment, and then boom. And if you've got trauma in your past, if you've got post-traumatic stress, all these kinds of things, they contribute to the formation of patterns and realities that kind of just start to become autopilot, and they just kind of go and go and go and go and go. And what we're saying is that when you armor down, you start to recognize these patterns, and the formlessness that you want to turn into the form of your reality is love and compassion. It's our fourth bell is getting to the heart. So, I'm just going to kind of language the experience that I'm going through right now, and, follow along and practice if you like. But, I'm aware of the fact that the practice that I have as my own kind of awareness is 10 years in the making. So the nuance that I'm aware of, much of what I'm talking about may not connect, may not hit in a way that makes a lot of sense. You may grasp it intellectually, but it may be hard for you to kind of see it, experience it in the moment yourself, because it's fast. It's the seamless nature of our reality is what we're hacking. It's like this is reality itself. We're trying to kind of like, there it is. So this is what the notion of enlightenment, right? Enlightenment is this thing that happens and everything is no, it's enlightenment is like a moment of enlightenment, back to normal, moment of enlightenment, back to normal, moment of enlightenment, back to normal. It isn't like enlightenment, yes, everything is understood. It's these moments, and the more often you have these moments of, the more enlightenment becomes more and more consistent, more and more participatory. And then, of course, the old saying is, before enlightenment, hoe the field, get water. After enlightenment, hoe the field, get water, right? So it's like, it's not like all of a sudden you're in this la la land. It's just, you start to see this form and formlessness and this interaction between the two. So anyway, okay. So when you come into the present moment, not you, I'm going to just, here's how it goes. Okay. So I'm going to come into the present moment, and I'm just going to kind of take stock of what's going on inside of me. So there's the thought process around Ukraine. There's a thought process around violence. There's a thought process around fear of the future. So I'm aware of that. I'm aware that there's an energetic quality to that thought process. It's kind of a sinking feeling right here. It's inside. It's inside my heart. It's kind of a sad, kind of a, yeah, it's sad, sinking, fearful. I can feel the energy, kind of sad right here. So that's that. If I go to my body feels good. I feel a lot of awareness of my lower back. Posture feels good. So this is kind of where I am to begin. Thoughts are relatively quiet. I can feel my mind kind of waiting for direction. A little flash there of breakfast, a little flash there of mother-in-law's here, a little flash there. But mostly I can feel, we talk about the elephant. I can feel the elephant just kind of like ready. Okay, ready. What's next? What's next? So now going to first bell. Following the tail of the sound. As the sound of the bell disappears, I'm going to reach out with sound, curiosity, vehicle sounds, bird sounds, machine sounds, light and shadow. Keep my eyes relatively cast down. Always light and shadow to be perceived. Go ahead and close the eyes. Kind of just exploring the world with sound again. Hearing empty space too. And this is the kind of nuance that I'm talking about. The sound of empty space. There's an awareness of the empty space between me and the sounds I'm hearing. So it's like I can hear the sounds outside of the room, and I recognize the empty space where there is no sound. Sense of smell. So immediately my huge awareness, the formlessness of huge awareness, reaching out, way out, is going to become really, really focused on the nose. So now I'm going to zoom in. The experience of attention zooms in, and then all of a sudden the attention, which is formless, zooms in on the tip of my nose, and I slowly bring air in and study smell, form. Not much on that inhale, so I'm going to kind of let the air out and then come in again, just looking for the smallest little qualities. And typically if I can find something, I can then zoom in on it and it shows up a little bit more. Yep, there's the musty smell of the garage. Not a lot of smell. So I'm just going to go into my mouth. The first thing I notice in my mouth is more in the back of the throat. I feel a little bit of constriction in the back of the throat. I want to clear my throat. There's a taste of mucus. Tongue. My tongue feels really, really big in my mouth. Not a lot of taste. Mostly just noticing moisture, teeth, tongue. And with the tongue, I can feel the flat of the back of my teeth. So like a flat surface, it's kind of broad. And if I put my tongue on the top of my teeth, there's just a little line of teeth, exploring that. Oh, there's a bird that just showed up much closer to the garage. It's a mourning dove. Okay, now I'm going to shift into bell 2. So I've explored the form with my formless awareness, my formless attention, the form of the outer world with my senses, taming the mind. I'm going to come into the body. First, I'm going to notice my ground. There again is that feeling of leaning left. I've adjusted my cushion, so there's an aspect of my alignment that's left leaning. So kind of curious about that. That inhale just created a whole bunch of popping in my back. So I'm going to feel my feet, left foot, right foot, flat against the ground. Move to the rear end. Feeling kind of the left butt cheek, the pressure on it. The right butt cheek, the pressure on it. Again, there's this sense of more pressure on the left. It's not a lot more, but it just feels this little left lean in there. Right butt cheek. Now I'm going to go in the middle. So it's the anus, the genitals. So I'm going to feel that region. There's not a lot of feeling to it, which is good, right? Typically want a whole bunch of feeling down there. And I'm just going to kind of pull up. So when I pull up, the pressure of my body weight at the ground, when I pull up, becomes kind of central. It goes to that spot. So if I kind of engage there at the bottom, all of a sudden the pressure at the very center goes up and the pressure on the left and right side of my buttocks goes down. So I can kind of feel that. So my attention, right? My attention's formless. It becomes form as it gets affixed to an aspect of my body, my physical feeling. So you can feel that. Mostly I'm just exploring it. And again, there's that left pull. I'm not worried about that. I'm just aware of it, watching it. Okay. So now from there, I'll go up to my core. Letting the belly out, kind of pushing it out, pushing the belly button forward, pulling the belly button in. I'm going to do that a couple times and see what that feels like. So I pull in really tight. Yeah, it feels like the left side pulls in further than the right side. Let it all the way out. Pull it all the way in. Some more kind of popping there. Send the belly all the way out. Last time. Pull it all the way in. And then I'm just going to kind of let that go and move right away up into the heart space. So I notice the weight of my arms, my shoulders. I'm going to pull my shoulder blades back, see what happens there. Interesting kind of pulls taking place. I can feel some of the soreness from yesterday's workout, especially on the right side. Some pulling in the neck here, collarbone. Even that out. And I'm going to the throat space. It feels like the area where my jaw connects into my skull is tight. So I'm going to wiggle that a little bit. I'm going to move my head forward and back, just playing the alignment of my throat. So I'm more studying my throat here. The throat is very susceptible to tightness, closedness, openness. I mean, you think about language, right? Language and how language is coming up through the throat, breath coming through the throat, very, very subtle. Little subtle changes has huge impact. Drop my chin. Ooh, a lot of pull in the back of the neck if I drop my chin. Huge pulls. And left side, all left side. Lift way up, front of the throat. I can feel the tightness in the throat. Probably hear it in my voice. Flatten that out. Yeah, hear the sound difference. There's a timbre to my voice now. I can tell I've opened my throat a little bit by the kind of the depth of the sound of my voice. I can hear that myself. Top of the head, top of the throat. Oh, I really appreciate that feeling. That it feels like I can now feel my voice all the way down into my chest. It's like a vibratory quality to my voice. It wasn't there before. Top of the head, top of the spine. I've gone through the alignment of my body, just piece by piece, interacting with the form and formlessness, the formlessness of my awareness and the form of my body. Flow becomes form, right? So this flow of attention, awareness, going into the form interacting with the flow. What shows up, right, starts to evolve. So form becomes flow again. Just going to third breath, or excuse me, third bell. So the breath is a perfect example of form and formlessness, flow and form. These words are mostly interchangeable. So the flow of the breath going into the form of the body. Just notice the limits. So if you take a breath in as long as you possibly can, at some point you'll come to the limit of your inhale. I can't breathe in any more than that. Well, maybe a little bit, but I've reached a limit here. The form of my body limits the inhale. Now, if I let it go, let it out slow, form's changing, flow's moving out, but there's also a flow that comes behind that, which is like a little bliss, a little bit of like, thank you for breathing out. So the flow comes in with the breath. It's the form of the structure of the body. exhale that releases the breath goes out, and then behind it is this formless, right? It's just this kind of bliss, kind of like this. That's nice. There's forms and flows that are happening beyond your awareness. It's parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. What you're aware of, or what you have the capacity to be aware of, is way smaller than what's your brain is actually aware of in your subconscious. So what you're conscious of, what you can participate with, is smaller than what's going on. And what's neat is that as you practice, you can start to perceive more and more and more. So I'm going to explore the breath a little bit in terms of interacting with the kind of the form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of change the form of my body in my mind, and I'll feel it kind of in my body. So I'm going to go back to where I was pulling up in the genitals at first bell, or excuse me, at the beginning of second bell. And I'm going to interact with that while I breathe in, and I'm going to change the form of my breath by sending it way down. So now the limit that was kind of up in the chest area, now it shows up in the core area, way down below. So the limit of the breath kind of being pulled down. Feel the limit there. And then release that. It's a totally different feel of breathing. Totally different feel. Going down. And it's the engagement with that bottom area. It's got a really cool name, yogic name. We'll talk about that later on, but that area, that engagement there, changes the way the breath flows. So the form and the flow, and the flow and the form, they're constantly interacting. Let that go. So if you were to look at the screen right now, I'll show you what I'm doing inside. You can't, of course, see that, but as I breathe in, I'm going to pull up in the genitals. It's not quite the genitals. It's not quite the anus either. It's this area called I forget what that's called, but I'm pulling up in that area at the same time that I'm breathing in, and the breath goes deep down. So here we go. I'm at full inhale here, and the breath is way, way, way down. I can feel a little bit of the pull in my upper body, but it's mostly way down. And then I'm going to release that all at the same time. The form of my body that my breath flows into feels wide open, feels different, spacious, comfortable to sit with. Now it feels like I'm breathing into this cavernous space, all the space in the world. Let's go to fourth bell. So now the form and the flow that I'm looking for is bigger than myself. It's no longer the forms and the flows that are within me. It's the bigger form and bigger flows. The transcendent love, compassion. And this is part of the formless nature of my belief, but it's not just my belief, it's the form that this takes place in the world, the form love takes place, how love forms and shows up in the world, how compassion, the flow of love and the flow of compassion changes the form of how the world interacts around me. This is part of my deeper beliefs. So to practice that, I'm going to first kind of locate my heart. Here it is. I'm going to let it sway my body. Then I'm going to begin my loving kindness practice. May I be at ease in my mind. May I be at ease in my body. May I be at ease in my heart. May I be at ease in my mind. May I be at ease in my body. May I be at ease in my heart. Shift it out, express it out. May you be at ease in your mind. May you be at ease in your body. May you be at ease in your heart. May you be at ease in your mind. May you be at ease in your body. May you be at ease in your heart. Oneness and unity. May we be at ease in our minds. May we be at ease in our hearts. May we be at ease in our bodies. May we be at ease in our minds. May we be at ease in our bodies. May we be at ease in our hearts. Two breaths to finish. It's quiet. It's quiet on the inside. And I can really feel the form of my legs. They're ready to uncross. But my mind is quiet. It's not only quiet, it's like settled. It's not even settled at the surface, it's settled deep. So it feels like my mind is deep, deep down. I feel a sense of equanimity, sense of quiet. Other than my legs, which are going to sleep from sitting in a meditative position. Everything is just quiet. Flow becomes form, form becomes flow. Thanks for practicing with me, Armor Down. See you next week.